Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today. It's Friday. It's January 29th, 2021. I'm the man they call Meathead. We are 2 days away from, even though it's not the biggest pay-per-view of the year, it's got to be the second, and it's probably my favorite, just like yours. I'm the man they call Meathead, and welcoming in Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning. It might be my favorite as well, too, because WrestleMania, it's your biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's high profile, but It's set. You know what is what going into it. You're excited for these big marquee matches.
Yeah.
This is quintessentially a blank slate going into Sunday. I mean, it is a reset, if you will. It's going to shape the direction of professional wrestling for the next several months.
Yeah, and not only shape it, I mean, we don't know how it's going to be shaped. So, I mean, we've had years like John Cena was 7 months away from recovering from injury and shows up at number 30 in Madison Square Garden. We've had years where Batista just shows up out of nowhere and wins the Royal Rumble. We had years like last year where Edge, after 9 years of being retired and not being able to medically compete, shows up and it participates looking jacked in the Rumble. We are always going to get a surprise. We're going to be always talking about what happens after the Rumble, about what happened in the Rumble, and the Raw that happens after the Rumble is one of the biggest shows outside of the day after WrestleMania Raw. Stuff happens. I mean, this is literally the benchmark shows. So we are there, folks. We are 2 days away from a Royal Rumble like we've never seen before. There will be no fans in attendance. It'll be the Thunderdome, and they'll be there via, LED boards. So, Matthew, let's talk sponsors real quick. Let's talk Manscaped. Getting yourself silky smooth for the Royal Rumble coming up this Sunday right here. Manscaped is going to take care of you. If you use the promo code PWR, save yourself 20%. Get yourself silky smooth. Clean your nether regions. Valentine's Day is only a couple weeks away. Get looking good for your man or your woman. And then our friends at Collar and Elbow Brand, not only do we talk about the Buenos Hermanos, they got that Brody Lee tribute shirt as well over there. Using promo code PWR360, save 10% on that. All the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds on that Brody Lee shirt going to the family of Brody Lee and -1. I love the -1 and the kendo stick from -1 as well. Matthew, let's talk some Royal Rumble.
I am very excited to talk Royal Rumble with you, Meathead. You
want to start men's or start women's?
Flip a coin. Do you have a coin nearby?
Oh, I've always got a coin nearby. Heads. We never assigned what heads and women's are, so which one do you want to do?
So let's flip a coin to see which side is going to be women's and which side is going to be men's. So,
okay.
So flip a
head
coin
for men.
Head
then
for
tails
men.
On the women.
Right.
Pervert. Ping. Hold on. All right. Looks like it's going to be women first.
Oh. That'll work.
All the single ladies. All right. Are you ready? Here we go. So far, declared for the women's Royal Rumble, Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss, Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Tamina, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. We did the math before we went on the air because nobody wants to listen to you do math on air. That's 12 declared out of 30. Matthew, I'm going to start you off by saying that there's a name on here. We've been banging the desk for almost a year now saying that she's going to win it. She's not on this list. I've never heard her say she's declared for the Women's Royal Rumble. She was not on NXT on Wednesday night. I guarantee you. Well, I can't say there goes that word again. But I am willing to bet that Rhea Ripley shows up and wins the Women's Royal Rumble. Who do you think, Matthew, is going to, 1, show up that's not declared, 2, have a serious shot at winning the whole damn thing?
And I've been going back and forth these last several days. I still feel very confident that the right move, and I think that the trigger that will be pulled is Rhea Ripley. However, I'll give you some names that have
contradiction's sake. Give us something else.
My head that's not on that list. Somebody that recently became a mother. Is it time for Becky?
One badass mother?
We haven't seen her in a while. Here's another name that has been away so long you almost forget about in the conversation. It's Ronda Rousey.
Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
And here's where I keep going back to.
And we mentioned that during the mystery tag partner for Asuka, remember?
Yeah. I think that was actually your prediction, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, you predicted correctly and pulled Charlotte Flair out of thin air. But
here's the thing with that. Ronda shows up at any time. Becky shows up at any time. That is a legitimately believable number one contender to that title. Both of those women have a case. And that being said, I don't think either one of those women need the Rumble. That it's a surprise, but at the end of the day, when you look at the winner of the Royal Rumble being a means to an end, using that to really elevate somebody, getting somebody in that title picture that was not in that title picture, Drew McIntyre last year is a perfect example. You know, you get somebody who's believable, and that is the way they get to that title picture. As much of a surprise as it would be with Ronda or Becky, I do not feel like it's needed in any capacity. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that one, if not both of them, pop back up. But, I mean, maybe that's it. Ronda and Becky, one-on-one, no title, that's a main event match right there.
That was a WrestleMania match.
Yeah, that was a WrestleMania main event. Neither one of them.
Well, with Charlotte in it, too. It was a three-way.
Need the title. I'm still going with our original pick, Rhea Ripley. I just think it makes all the sense in the world. And if you look at the evidence, if you look at her booking on NXT recently, she's been putting people over. I feel like she's done with that pawn. She was not on the Go Home show. I think there's something to read into that there. As much as I talk through all of the available options, I think that you got to go back to Rhea Ripley.
I feel that they're pulling the okie doke on me because what I want is Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
And again, I folks who've been listening to me say this since April, I've been pounding at a desk going, look, with WrestleMania, with what happened to her, that's why I drafted Rhea Ripley in my PWR draft. I knew that she would be in the main events. She would be in the big marquee matches. And if they gave the title to her, didn't give the title to her, you know, when I talked about my draft team, I said, look, I'm going to draft champions right now, but I'm also drafting one for the future. I'm telling you this day that Rhea Ripley will be in the main event at WrestleMania, and I think she's getting there by winning the Royal Rumble. I've got to stick with that. I've been talking it for 9 months now. So we've talked about surprises. I'm glad you mentioned Rowdy Ronda. I don't give a damn about reputation. Where she debuted, how many Royal Rumbles ago? 3 to 4, I think it was, where she showed up at the end.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
and another reason for her not to win it is she's already had her big Royal Rumble moment. Not necessarily in the Rumble, but she's already had her big Royal.
But that
Rumble
was her professional debut. She showed up at the end of the Royal Rumble. Becky Lynch is a solid choice to come back. I feel she's on her way back. The baby's out, healthy, looking good. It's time to come to work. I mean, it's time to come back to work, Beck, and, we're ready for you. Come on back. It's time. She's got a legit case to go right for the Women's Championship because she handed it to Asuka. Remember, she hid it in the Money in the Bank briefcase that Asuka won.
Yeah. Like I said, the story's built in there. The story's built in with Ronda. They don't need the Rumble.
No. Now, we've gone over the main contenders. Who else you got? Who's popping up?
You've got to do some throwbacks. I think
legend.
you saw Tori Wilson on a Raw not too long ago. I mean, she's kind of back in the picture with WWE. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Tori Wilson surprise. Yeah. I think that's very, 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 very likely. Alicia Fox was featured not too long ago. Yep. I think that's a very
I've got an
safe
easy
bet
one
there.
For you. Color commentator from NXT.
Oh, yeah.
Hall of Famer. Women's champion, the Glamazon, Beth Phoenix. That's an easy one.
Do we see Melina?
Maybe it's time for Melina. That's a good call. Melina has been rumored to be making her way back to the WWE universe, and she's been out wrestling on the indies and doing what she's doing, looking good. We had her at Blizzard Brawl a couple of years ago, looking phenomenal. So is it time for Melina to come back? Throw me one more.
Let's see. Who haven't we seen And I'm going more in the way of comeback. I don't know what the contract status is with Mickie James. That would not surprise me either.
Okay. Mickie James would be okay. I'd take that. It's not a huge pop.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been recently in WWE's world for the last year. I'll throw you one more, and I will say Miss Madness 2000 one more time, Molly Holly.
Yeah. I can very much see that.
Okay. Maybe a Jackie somewhere in there too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's women's. Now, let's talk about the men. Already declared on the men's side: Randy Orton, Edge, AJ Styles, Big E, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Bobby Lashley, Jey Uso, Cesaro, The Miz, John Morrison, Otis, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali. We counted before the show, and I believe that was 18 of 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's start off with, who do you think is going to win? Is it somebody in that 18 pile, or is it somebody not announced yet? Who do you got?
This is much, much tougher.
Much more difficult
than the women's. I can see it going. And what I want to do is, I'll show you the pass of everybody that I think is a contender. And we'll see if we can't talk this out and potentially get a consensus. You and I have a consensus on the women's. And I think we can potentially reach a consensus on the men's. And that's what people tune into this show for. This is consensus. This is consensus talk. They like Meathead and Matthew talking through their issues and coming to an agreement with a unified opinion.
Okay.
That's what people listen to this show in the mornings for. The first one, and I'm not excited about this, and I hope this is not the direction they go. They teased us with it, and I'm not that interested in the story. And I think using the Rumble as a vehicle to get there would not potentially be the most impactful thing they could do, and that's a Sheamus Royal Rumble win. Ooh. They've been teasing that. I don't, that's where McIntyre's new gear comes from, which I feel honestly is not needed. McIntyre was over before he was handed the whole Mel Gibson gimmick. And Braveheart, not any other Mel Gibson stuff.
Right.
Right. That wouldn't work too well.
I almost said not the Mel Gibson that was drunk on a boat eating cheeseburger. That was David Hasselhoff.
That's a gimmick that's dead on arrival. Nobody wants to touch that. I just don't. I think that does not go over well. And Sheamus is one of those guys that you can put in the main event picture at any point. He's been there,
sure. And he's just.
Yeah, and you've got that story there already for the telling whenever you want it. I don't think the Rumble is necessarily a vehicle to that. The other one is the one that's right in front of us, and it's the pick that Linda made earlier this week. And since the start of all of this, it seems like Bryan has been one of those people that he's the booking's right in the fact that he hasn't been winning a bunch, but he's been expressing the importance of the Rumble to him. And if you want, and this is where I lean the Bryan route, is say you're going to have the same amount of people in the stands for Mania that you're going to have for the Super Bowl, which I believe is 22,000, say ballpark of 20,000 each night. And you want a crowd reaction. You want to make those 20,000 sound as loud as you can and have something in unison. It's the Daniel Bryan yes chant. Yeah. And that is
yes, not yeah.
Yeah. If that's a factor in there. And we're not everything that I've read, it sounds like there is a consensus, unless we're being swerved, unless that's the direction they're going this year, which I don't think it is. I don't think they're going to do it in a year where they can't pack the stadium.
Yeah.
It seems like this Roman Reigns angle is made for Roman Rock, but you've got to get to a point where you can fill a stadium, and it sounds like a stadium in California. So I think we're down the road quite a ways from that. So take that payoff out of the picture. You want a safe bet for a babyface to go up against this new heel Reigns. Mm-hmm. It's Daniel Bryan. That's probably the safest bet where this goes. Now, what I really want to see is what we got teased with the other night. Edge declaring changes the picture totally for me.
Yeah.
I think
surprise Edge showing up. He was not promoted to be on the show.
Yeah, that's a match that I will give them my money to see. That is a match that I would pay to see that you never thought you would get to see. And they match up very well together. Spear versus spear, similar finishing move in that regard. And Edge was absolute on the money with his promo the other night. I think where Roman's at now, with the inclusion with Paul Heyman just sprinkled in there for some seasoning, I think that could be a very entertaining program. Now, that's what I'm hoping to see. So, smart money's on Bryan. What I want to see is Edge Roman, what can also give us the surprise element and make for a very interesting story, although it's been done a bunch. I think it could be there's still some mileage there because of that dynamic with Heyman. It's a surprise signing of Lesnar and Lesnar showing up and winning the Rumble.
Okay. So I was going to go there. I'm glad you did. I've got a couple names that I want to throw out there that I believe are already going to be in there. They're not surprises. They're just not declared.
Yeah.
Give it to Big Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Keith Lee's going to be in there. You could put him against Drew one more time, even though we've seen it already, technically. And would Keith Lee Drew, with Keith Lee winning the Royal Rumble, have legs to go 3 months until WrestleMania?
They've planted that seed of him and McIntyre being friends, right? You kind of got that in there. Yeah, I feel like we're going to get something that, and the other thing, I want to go back into that. The other thing that I thought was a strong possibility up until this week, I'm shying away from it, but the person that has been booked the strongest in that entire company right now, outside of Roman Reigns, is Bobby Lashley. There's nobody else winning each week via submission. And it's the perfect under the radar. Okay, this guy is winning, but he's not prominently featured at the end of the show. Problem with that is you've already gotten Drew and Lashley back last summer, right as Drew was getting into the title run.
And Drew blew right over him.
Yeah, and that was not Lashley in the Hurt Business, but I think that you've gotten that, and you're going to have some fans that look at it. It's like, I already got that. It's not that believable.
Yeah.
And I don't see him hopping brands and going to SmackDown and facing Roman. I'd like to see it, but it's just not. There's way too many moving pieces for that to happen. So would not be the strangest thing in the world, but I don't think that's happening at this juncture. Now, very possible that the Rumble is built for Lashley, and Lashley has an absolute standout Kane-esque performance, but I don't see him winning the
I'm so glad you used that phrase, because I was going to go there. And again, I'm glad you brought it up. Matthew, you and I have been doing some form of podcast for how many years now?
37.
37. So for the first 36 of those 37 years, what was the phrase I always said about the Royal Rumble? Who's this Rumble built for? Let's talk it out. Who's it built for? Who's it going to put over? So the other years we were able to call a lot of them. Like last year, it was built for McIntyre. McIntyre came in, cut down Brock Lesnar in the middle, and survived through. It was built for him to escalate him up to the top. And again, it was the Rumble win was made for that. The year Batista won, it was built to have a Hollywood star in there because he was launching Guardians of the Galaxy like a couple months later. So I wanted us to ask ourselves again, who's this Rumble built for? We have those, 18 in front of us or whatever the number is right now, and the extra 12 that are missing. I still think that there's a Finn Balor in this match and possibly a Karrion Kross in this match, a la Keith Lee from last year to do a dominating performance and then go back to NXT.
Yeah, because Kross needs something at this point. I mean, since he's returned, we're just not getting – it's not the immediate ascension back to where he was when he's not even really being treated as somebody who had to relinquish the title. It's not – he's not really even spoken of as that champion. It's a very strange booking. So, yeah, this could definitely be, very, very useful for a little bit of a reset on him.
Yeah, like I said, Karrion Kross getting the Keith Lee treatment from last year when he went head-to-head with Brock Lesnar and looked pretty good. You know, because what was Brock's look? Look at the size of this guy. Honestly, there's talk that it's AJ Styles. AJ Styles also debuting at the Royal Rumble as well.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I just don't necessarily see it this year. But that's, you know, an AJ Styles bet is a safe. It's kind of like, you know, you could have thrown for the last 10 years, you could have thrown Randy Orton's name out there, and you would not be making an unwise bet in any of those years. And I feel like AJ Styles is, you know, I feel like that's very, very similar. But it's just, and here's where I think we're putting the cart before the horse, and at least where I am, there's 2 more pay-per-views between the Rumble and
while
Mania.
You're saying that right now, why don't we run down what's left going up to WrestleMania? How about this?
Yeah.
We've got the Rumble on the 31st, this Sunday. We've got NXT TakeOver, Valentine's Day, February 14th. We've got Elimination Chamber on February 21st. And then, you know, WWE Fastlane is March 21st before WrestleMania on the 10th and 11th.
Yeah. And here's where I'm at. I see it as McIntyre with the COVID situation last year he didn't get an audience to win the title. Yeah. At this juncture, and I don't know what that means for Sunday, there's a lot of moving pieces with Goldberg and Miz and whatnot. I think this WrestleMania is his moment, and I don't see McIntyre going into Mania the champion. I think he gets that rescheduled title win at WrestleMania this year.
Really? So you see possibly McIntyre winning the chamber to go get Goldberg again at WrestleMania?
Don't want to see it. But at the same time, when you look at Goldberg's runs as of late,
he's given me the runs just thinking about it.
He's not brought in as a one-off, man. He's brought in as a trilogy, or he's brought in, you know, at this juncture, I can't see Goldberg popping back up and saying, hey, man, I'm going to do the honors for one match. It just doesn't seem like his booking. And that's why I am calling for McIntyre not leaving the Royal Rumble as champion.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's again, me being selfish. Here's what could happen, because again, The Miz and John Morrison are in the Royal Rumble. However, The Miz has to cash in that briefcase soon, and it's possible that McIntyre survives Goldberg only to get cashed in on by The Miz.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I am interested in seeing that. Like I said, we've got a lot of wrestling between the Rumble and Mania, and so
would Miz survive a Goldberg Miz match at the Elimination Chamber? Ugh.
See, that could be fun.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That could be fun. And the possibility is Goldberg beats McIntyre clean. Then, how about this? Goldberg beats McIntyre clean. Then he enters the Rumble, wins the Rumble to take on Roman and unify the titles at WrestleMania.
God damn it. You gotta stop.
And he beats Roman at Mania, and he unifies the title, and it's the Goldberg title, and he takes it and he leaves, retires as champion, and then it's like that Nitro where they reset the thing and take all the titles and have
April 10th, 2000.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Goldberg.
Or wait, which one are you talking about? Because they reset it April 10th, 2000. Or are you talking about the day after when Booker T beat Jeff Jarrett to become the champion after Hogan laid down, or Jarrett laid down for Hogan at Bash at the Beach?
The first one. That's what I was talking about. April 10th. Yep. So I mean, that's what you do, man. That's what you do, and then maybe Goldberg's in the Hall of Fame already. Yeah, he is.
He is in the Hall of Fame already.
You put him in again.
I'm going to cut your mic in a second is what I'm going to
do. Here's what you do. You have him create a faction between them and the Hall of Fame, and you put the Hall of Fame. You put
is this thing on? Well, we talked it out, and you said what people listen for is to get to a consensus between you and I. We are nowhere near a consensus on Battle Royal.
No, that's not happening with the men's.
No. Surprises. Give me a couple surprises that it could be.
Surprises to win the thing?
To show up in the men's.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not counting some story progression out with Jey Uso winning the thing.
Okay. No, I'm talking about to show up. Jay's already confirmed. Like we did with the women. We called out some women that might show up.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Oh, man. Who haven't you seen in a while? I mean, Godfather's always but here's the thing. You know, you're going to have I don't know that you are going to have as many surprises as far as legends because you don't have that live audience pop. So maybe I think your surprises.
So not to be, you know, funny about it, but all right. How about some cheap legends? You know, ones that don't cost as much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, let me ask you this. Do they make things right with Carlito? And do we finally get Carlito?
I hope so.
In the Rumble. Yeah.
I hope so. Because I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. The good thing is I got the screen up now.
You know what would be fun is Pat McAfee.
Oh, he shouldn't be there, but it would be fun.
Yeah.
Because they need to make it right with Pat McAfee. Because Pat's not with Pete Dunne and Orny and Birch. There's something going on there between Pat and WWE.
Yeah. That could be fun.
How about Bob Holly?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, here's the thing. You know who we haven't talked about, and who's got to be talked about this time of year, and who's got to be talked about potentially winning it, although he doesn't need it, is Cena.
Yeah, because Cena has WrestleMania plans.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, if Eugene shows up at the Rumble, I'll be happy too. You know,
I'm okay. Like, I'm almost going. I feel like AJ is a pretty safe bet.
You know, we haven't seen Cena since Cena lost at last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah. No, we haven't.
And we haven't talked Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and that's a possibility.
Okay, all right. Could be Husky Harris. You never know.
That could be fun.
That could be. But let's call it. All right. We got SmackDown tonight. It's the go home. We don't know what's happening yet tonight. That being basically they're just going to button up business for Sunday. We've also got, what's it called? The WWE, The Bump, coming back tomorrow. Renee Young back in WWE.
Well, she's got a little bump herself, doesn't she?
Hey, now.
Pregnancy joke.
How dare you, John Moxley?
Hey, Meathead, that's some of my maternity material.
Is this mic on? Hello? All right. For Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. We will have a recap Monday morning of the men's and women's Royal Rumble and everything that happens at the Royal Rumble this Sunday for you. So for Matthew, I'm Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.